Would you guys consider this live? I don't know. It's kind of hard. It looks pretty virtual to me. Can virtual be live? Okay. All right. Hey, well, today's the first day we put on shoulder pads, which is good to get back to that part of the game, which is kind of the real part. Up until now, we've I love our progress. Things have been going well. As I said to you, the preparation in terms of Zoom and virtual meetings and all of that worked out really, really well. And so we'll just keep growing. We got to have one good day and then have another good day and keep stacking those up. So that's what we're really looking forward to. A couple guys, we slowed down a couple guys, Puna Ford and Jay Reed. Those guys were slowed down, but they're in the walkthrough today, and they look like they're going to be okay. It doesn't look like they're serious injuries at all. But we'll take care of them. We're looking after some guys right now in the first push of camp to make sure we get through the first push. Sometimes it's a bit of a shock to their system, and so we're looking to look after guys as they go through the showing us where they are and how they handle the workload. So everything's going good and having fun.
John Boyle.
I think you're standing too close, Dave.
I got it.
I'm beeping.
Pete, we got a chance to talk to Benson, a guy who you brought in obviously forever ago, and now he's back. Just how much has he changed as a player and a man, and just what have you seen out of him so far?
He's been a real nice surprise that he's really a pass rusher. You can see it in his mode of play, his get off on the line of scrimmage. He was an outside backer, mixing kind of in and out before when we had him. But he's learned a lot over the years, and he comes to us really fitting the position well. And so he's off to a good start. Has some real good highlight rushes yesterday.
And what do you remember about him from however long ago that was, 8 years ago, and he was here as a tryout?
Nothing but good stuff. That he was a raw player coming in, but a good athlete, and we really took him for the upside, and so John just figured out how to wait around for the upside to come on back to us. So we're lucky we got him back now.
Hey, Pete, just curious, at left guard, would you say it's Mike Giapotti's job to lose, or are there other guys firmly in the competition?
Mike's been around a long time. He's a really established veteran and a really good ball player. The competition is on, as it always is, but yeah, he's taken all the first snaps, to get us started in camp. But he's got some formidable competition there with Phillip Haynes and Simmons, and we got some guys that can move in there and give us some real big body work. And those guys look pretty good coming out of the chute, so we'll see how it goes.
And when you guys let go of Joey Hahn, is that a vote of confidence in Ethan Posich and where you feel like he's at health-wise and talent level?
Yes, that it is. It is that, and seeing where BJ fits in, and also Kyle Fuller. Those guys are all they're going to rotate in there and see how everybody does. But Ethan does know how to play the position. He hasn't been able to be featured at that spot, but now that's what we're going with. He played everything in college, but played most of his snaps at center, and where I thought he always looked the best. So he had a fantastic offseason. It looks as primed as he's been, and had a couple good first days to get us started. So the competition's on.
Hey, Coach, speaking of the O-line, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago that it might be tough for them because they have had no offseason to kind of gel. How is that going, and specifically the rookie, Damien Lewis?
We're just getting started, so I really can't give you a great indicator where we are. But it's a smart group, and they're communicating well. These guys really benefited from all of the work that they did, the mental work that we did in the offseason. Damien Lewis is he's a special football player. He's got a tremendous body for the position. He's got great body mass low, and he's really, really powerful. You can see him in positions already, torquing and all that shows that he can return to balance really well, which is a real good trait for offensive linemen. He's really smart. He's studied really hard. The guys already can sense that you can count on him to know what's going on, and so he's off to a really good start. He moves well on the second level, and he's done a nice job already just showing us that he can pull and get on the edge. So he's done nothing but good stuff so far. I had a good sit down with him a couple days back and had a chance to just kind of go back real seriously about expectations and what he's counting on and what he's trying to do and how he's going about it. I was really impressed how squared away he is. And so, I had heard that from his head coach. Eddie had told me that you can really count on this guy to come in and make an impression early that he's in it. He's in the competition. Exactly the truth. So that's where it is. And that position is, widely competed for also. But he has really demonstrated all of the stuff we would hope to have seen at this point.
Corbin.
Good morning, Pete. Behind Jared and Puna, you currently have 4 combined games of NFL experience on the depth chart, the defensive tackle position. Do you have any concerns about that lack of experience? And what have been your early impressions on where that young group is at right now?
Oh, isn't that awesome? Think how young these guys. All these guys got all their games ahead of them. I'm really excited about Brian Monet. When you go back, I went back, did a little special study on him this summertime, just to kind of see again, and look going into camp, what can we expect from him? He played really well in the plays he played last year. He plays really stout and strong, and he is willing to run like crazy, chase the football. He had 2 highlight plays in practice, in the pre-practice viewing we showed today, of just giving great effort. He came to us about 350 something. He's 340, I think, the other day. So he's a big man, and so I think he gives us, because he's been with us in second year, he feels like he's been around. He knows our stuff, and he's a real bright player too. So he's definitely in the rotation. So that with behind Puna and Jay Reed, we know that he can play football. We like him playing on the center, like him playing nose, and like he played in college. So that helps us out. Christmas is important to us, how he develops, and this is the first time really we've seen him. He's really like a rookie right now, because last year just didn't amount to much of anything for him, unfortunately. But he's had a good offseason, and he's right in the mix of it too. But also, you'll see in time, Rasheem Green and LJ Collier will play in there too at the 3 technique spot, in and out, and they'll be ready to do that, particularly in nickel situations. But those guys will add too, so it looks a little different when you start to mix our guys, that we do have some depth and we have some guys that can play and give us some real good athleticism. It can be a really fast defense, and it'll start with those guys' ability to run up front.
Hey, Pete, in watching you work with Quentin yesterday, how much enjoyment do you get in those moments where you can work one-on-one with a player, particularly in the secondary?
No, I always love doing that, Jen. It's always one of my favorites. I found out that he spent a lot of time working out with Marquand Manuel. Marquand was here a couple years back, and he knows all of our terminology technique-wise. He's already been drilled at it. I didn't know that coming in. I never thought to ask that question. So he's really familiar with what we're talking about technically. So that gives him a real jump. Sometimes the guy comes in who's played quite a bit, and you're telling him stuff he hadn't heard before, and they got to figure out when can I use it, when can I not. That's not happening. So this should be a quick transition for him. I do love working with these guys. It's always my favorite group to mess with, and particularly the press corners and all that. So this is fun, and I'm anxious to see him. We're going to keep him under wraps a little bit as we start these first few days with us, because he hasn't had an off season with us at all. But he'll get going. Give him a week before we really get a chance to really check him out.
Thanks, Pete.
Greg.
Jen asked most of my question, but Jordan
Okay,
Brooks.
let's go to the next guy.
Jordan Brooks, what have you learned about his versatility and where you may be able to use him?
What do we think of his versatility?
Yeah, have you learned anything in the first week on where?
Yeah, he looks the part. He really looks the part. He's got a great body. He's built differently than we've seen guys. He's really big, legs and hips and butt, and he's really low center of gravity. Really powerful guy, and he's very quick and explosive. So he's already shown that a number of times. He's shown some really good instincts playing off blockers, which is not always a natural thing, but he uses his hands real well. He's made really a really good first impression. He looks the part all the way, and he's real serious. He's learning, and we're really trying to get him to really groove into how we practice, so his mentality is really on it every step of every day. He doesn't have a chance to do this unless he's really into it the whole time. It's good for him to get a chance to play early in the season. He's going to have a great camp. So he's off to a good start.
How viable is strong side for KJ? I know he's done it a little bit, but how much?
He could do that. Yeah, he has done it. Matter of fact, the first few days we was ever here, we were thinking that. So, and he's been there. I've got a whole cut-ups of him playing over the years on the edge, so that I can see what he looks like. That's all part of what was going on in the off season. He could do that if we need him to do that. Right now, we're not. There's no changes or anything going on.
Bob.
Good call.
Hey, Pete. The Atlanta Falcons announced today there's not going to be any fans for your first game down there. I know you've been preparing for that and all that, but I guess knowing that for sure, does that impact anything, or what's your thoughts on that?
No, it doesn't impact anything really, other than we'll be familiar with it. In that when we go into the stadium a couple times here, there won't be any fans there, so that'll be our first chance, and we'll really try to use our imagination to get the sense of that. So it's totally relative, just like to not have the 12s in the stadium. Okay, I don't know if that's relative because we have a great crowd that goes nuts. Other places, I don't know how much they count on their fans, but we'll be accustomed to it to some extent, and we'll get going really. Once we're there and we've done it a couple times, it won't be a big deal.
And one more, we saw Chris Carson yesterday. He looked like he's basically just back to normal from the injury he had last December. But is that
was the doc said that all along, that he was going to be fine. He really is in tip-top shape, and he had a real difficult family issue that they had to deal with, and so we needed to give him all the time he needed. But he looked great yesterday, and the couple looks we had of him, he's really explosive, and everybody was really fired up to get Chris back out there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Tim.
Hey, Pete. We've seen Dwayne Brown kind of sitting out a little bit these first few practices. Is he one of those that falls into that category if you're trying to take care of, or does he have an injury issue going on?
We're trying to take care of him, over the long haul. He's in incredible shape. He's just pumped and looks quick as ever. So it's, he can get by with lesser workload and long haul thinking for us, and so, and the young guys need the work. Cedric needs to get as many reps as he can to show us what he can do.
And I was going to ask, what have your initial impressions been of Cedric kind of stepping into that?
He totally looks the part. He was the number one for a reason. He's got great feet. He's got great flexibility. He moves really well. It's really a good get for us. It's hard to find guys that have the physicality to play left tackle, and he can do that. So we just need to get him in the system and get him really sharp with what we're doing, and see how it goes. And that would be that's an example of a guy who doesn't benefit from this process, without the preseason, because we would get a great look at him in games, but that's all we got. But we won't have as good a picture as we would like, coming out of a normal preseason. So. But we've seen him on film, and he's done a lot of good stuff. We just need to get him to be a Seahawk and play our way.
Thank you.
Brady.
Hi, Pete. I heard you say on the radio the other day that you feel like Bruce is the best strong side linebacker that you've had in your program here. Why do you feel that is? What makes him?
Yeah, well, it's all the years that he's put behind him since we had him, as well. He's been, a big rusher at Carolina. He rushed quite a bit at the Raiders. Atlanta used him too, so he's had just more time to rush, and he's more grooved than he's been. He's a great athlete for the spot. He's really perfect for the position because he's fast enough to run down the field and cover tight ends. He's terrific coming off the edge. He's got good sense for all of the little nuances, about fit and runs and things like that. He's just a real vet, and this was a great story, for us to get him to come back. I tried to get him a couple times, we couldn't get it done in past years. Just to bring him back to us, he's just grown up so much, and he's so mature about his world and his family, and and the whole thing. It's a great story, and he looks really good, and it's really such a cool group with all that background and that experience. There's like nothing you can throw at him that he hadn't done before or hasn't seen before. Right off the bat yesterday, made a couple great little decisions on pickups in the blitzes that we called. It's just the little things that he can do really well now. He wasn't always great at that stuff. He was a young guy learning his way. Now he's really grooved, and we're lucky to have him.
And just with your linebacker core as a whole, what do you make of just all the options that you have there?
Well, it's a good deal now. Yeah, Cody has looked great, and BBK has looked really good too. So, that gives us a real nice mix, and we're feeling like there's a little bit of experience. There's a lot of juice and a lot of speed in the group. Also with Griff in there too. Everybody can fly. So it's an exciting group.
Pete, there's a lot of teachers around the country have complained about the limits of online learning, and obviously it's a different cohort than you're dealing with, professional men competing for highly paying jobs. Sure. But what's your take on the efficiency of online learning?
Somebody was telling me about a stat that somebody did a study and measured what was the percentage of kids that came back once from their first example or first opportunity with online learning, and there was like young kids, I think it was like 10, 5 or 6, like kindergarten to 4th grade or something like that. There was like almost no percentage. Once they saw it, there was like 90% of them didn't ever come back again. Well, I don't know, if that's motivation or if that's just maturity or what it is. Our guys were so into it, and I go back to crediting the creativity of the coaches to make it such that the guys, had to stay with it, and they tried to be great teachers during that process, which is part of that's inspiring your students to want to learn. And so I'm not so sure that the connection is working out as well for the school kids, but and as you went up in age, the percentage elevated. With more kids came back as they got older. So there's something that has to do with maturity there. So. And our guys are, like you said, this is the business. This is their world, and they've. It's just been really impressive. I didn't expect our guys to not come back and be at the meetings, but the thing we've seen is there's been a lot of feedback of real positive nature that they have learned and they have retained, and they're able to show it so far in the early days of camp. Was that at all the question you asked? I have no idea. I'm not sure.
Close enough.
I didn't get close to it.
Pete, I know it's a little early to evaluate line play and stuff, but what have you seen out of Brandon Shell since getting him in here, and your read on him and what he brings to you at this stage, and just kind of your general thoughts on his acquisition?
Yeah, might be my favorite acquisition because he looks so much the part. He's a big kid, got good body control. There hasn't been a thing about him that hasn't looked good, and his consistency and his technique is really, really, a joy to see. I think he's going to be really good. He can get downfield, he can get on the edge and block, and he's stout in pass protection so far. We can see a lot more stuff here. But I've watched tons of film on him because I've seen other guys and other teams that I've studied and all of that. So I've watched most of his season from last year, and he just is really consistent. He's really consistent, and he's physical enough to be dominant. So. I'm really fired up about that because that was a big move right there, to lose a tackle that played 4 years for us and then come back and get a guy that really looks the part. He's going to be hard for anybody to move out of there. He's on his game.
Pete, what do you need to see out of your out of your receivers that aren't Tyler and DK? David, Phillip. What do you need to see out of that group?
Well, we're looking for Russ to connect with those guys, and the work that he spent in the offseason, which is really with the new guys, it's obvious, and that's well underway. He's already hit Phillip on a number of plays just in the early days of camp here, utilizing his ability to get down the field and Phillip's route running. Phillip is really a good ball player. Knowing all the time that he's so fast, it just adds to it. So Russ has already bombed him a couple times. It looked great. But it's the chemistry, He made a play with Greg yesterday on a blitz, and he had to throw hot. He laid up real early and over the top on a corner route that he had changed the route, by the look. And and Greg makes a one-handed catch going out of bounds. It's just like, how did all that happen in a couple days into practice? But it did, and it's experienced players believing in one another and developing chemistry. So that's really the biggest thing. These guys can all play. I'm not worried about them. And DK is so serious. It'll be fun for you guys when you have a chance to talk to him as you get through camp and the opportunities and all, just how focused he is and to see where his mind is. He's had a great offseason, and he's just so tuned in that he's really preparing to be a great player, and it's really exciting to see that.
Did something happen to Freddie and Demo?
Demo just turned his ankle a little bit. We'll see if he can go today. It was just a couple days ago, so it's not serious at all. It may take another day or so. Freddie got a little bit of a groin thing that just kind of nicked him, so we got to make sure that we don't let that get worse. So he'll be quiet for a couple days now. And Freddie had a really good start so far. So we have seen him already, and he's made a good first impression.
Thanks.
Anything else? Anyone?
This is free for all right now. Anybody can just blurt things out if they want to. Okay, this is the blurt portion of the show here.
Need any closer on Darryl Taylor? How's he coming along at this point for you?
Nice blurt, Curtis. No, Darryl is. He hasn't run yet. We haven't even let him run yet. We're really taking care of him and making sure that when he gets back, he stays back. It's really frustrating for him. He was dying to get to camp, and get rolling. But they did a couple of procedures for him to make sure that they're doing everything they can early on so that he can really come busting back. When he jumps back out there, we know he's going to be a factor. It's going to make a difference too, just to see his speed on the field too. So we're really excited to get him back. But we just got to wait it out and be patient. I would, it's going to be a bit, just to ensure that.
And Jaron Reed, what happened with Jaron?
We've lost all control. Jay Reed, his knee was a little bit sore from the work. Really, we think he overworked a little bit, and all the tests that we did, MRIs and all that stuff, was really clear. So he was back out doing walkthrough again today. Looks like he could likely practice. If we needed to play a game this week, he could play. But we're going to look after him again. It's so early in camp. We need to take care of these guys, make sure that nothing lingers.
Corbin?
Yeah, you mentioned that Benson.
Are we starting over again? I'm sorry.
That he's a true pass rusher now at this stage of his career compared to what he was before. What does it mean to you seeing him and Bruce Irvin? It's clearly evident how much fun they're having out there right now.
Yeah, I don't know how you could pick that up so well. Obviously, an astute observation, Corbin, but they are. They're both excited about the role that they have. The Sam and the Leo spots. It's a race to the quarterback. They got a little comp going on already. They want to, they're trying to outdo each other, which is perfect mentality. I think the focus for Benson over the years to be more of a rusher has really helped him. And where he was a backer, he was playing the Sam backer spot for a while and then mixing both. He needed to really zero in to become an adept pass rusher. He's got good stuff. He's got a good get off, got good change-up stuff, good up and unders. He just is a much more accomplished football player, as is Bruce too in their pass rush, and it shows. Just in the first couple of days, you can just feel the constant of the edge, which is so important for us. This is what we came back to this camp to find. And I will say that in the first couple of days, Alton Robinson's had a couple good days too and a couple good rushes. So that's really exciting for us as well. Put Darryl into the mix, and it should be a good mix. So there's a really good juice about those guys for sure. You picked it up.
All right, last question, Greg Bell.
Pete, I'm thinking about LJ. Sorry, on Taylor. I'm thinking back to LJ Collier when he missed time early in camp. Are you at the point of concern about that? And with only 14 padded practices, when does he need to get back?
Yeah, this is a good guy to talk about. He looks different. He just looks different. I think, and I talked to him yesterday about this, coming off the draft year and all of the confusion, all of the distractions, and he's probably not in his best shape. He isn't, because I see it now. And then he goes to camp and he gets banged up, has a nasty injury, doesn't even get started at all. Now, to see him now, he looks like a different guy. He's quicker, he's explosive, he's in great shape, and he's battling. And so he wasn't ready last time around, getting into camp, getting hurt. We never did get a chance to find out. But he's off to a terrific start, so we all need to see that from him. So it's good.
I think he's actually asking about Taylor.
I thought you said LJ. I'm sorry.
I was equating it to Collier.
That's way too difficult. That's way too difficult a question for me to answer. I can't get to that. I mean, it's just too complex.
With only 14 padded practices.
I got you. Okay, so.
When does Taylor need to get back?
Okay, this question's about Darryl Taylor? Okay, good. It's going to come down to really, we'd really like to get him 2 good weeks, of work with us. And so the race is on to get there, and that, we'll see what that means. I say that not knowing anything about what he looks in comparison to other guys. But 2 weeks at least to get working would be what we want. If we get less, we'll go with what we know, and we got to make sure he's ready. We would not rush him back just to get him on the field. I won't do that, but we'll see what happens. He was a guy that played injured all last year, and he played really well under the circumstances. So he's a very tough kid. He'll hang in there as he comes back. He's dying to get on a practice. He would practice right now if we'd let him. So we're holding him back, and I think he'll bounce back really quickly. He is doing a lot of conditioning work and stuff that he can do with the trainers and all that. So, but I would like him to see a couple weeks before we really counted on him in the first game.
All right, thank you.
See ya.